All right, so I just got back from watching Motor City, the latest action movie starring Alan Ritchson, who is, I guess he's most famous known for playing Reacher in the Amazon Prime series. So this is obviously an action movie. I didn't know anything about this movie going into it besides the fact that it stars Alan Ritchson. I hope I'm saying his name right. I believe, yeah. And it's an action movie. I mean, if it's a movie starring Alan Ritchson, you know it's most likely, not always, but most likely going to be an action movie, and that it's a sort of like revenge story, and it takes place in Detroit because it's called Motor City. So I had no idea took place in the late 70s, and I also had no idea that this movie is mostly not silent, but without dialogue. There is dialogue occasionally, but most of the time the characters in this movie do not talk. It is the story is mostly told through visual cues and sound effects and stuff like that. Not that dissimilar to Silent Night, which came out like a couple years ago, and that thought was fine. I believe I don't remember loving it, and I also think this movie has a little bit of an identity issue because the whole not silence, but the whole no dialogue starts to feel more like a gimmick after a while. It's pretty interesting. Like I had no idea it was going to be this way. So after like the first 10 minutes, I'm like, "Oh, there's just going to be no talking in this movie." And there's a little talking, but not much at all. So I was like, "Oh, this is interesting." And then you kind of have to pay attention because you're trying to figure out the story through the clues that they're giving you. And it's not that hard to figure out things. They make it pretty obvious. It's not a mystery movie. And yeah, so that was kind of cool, but the problem is that it gets kind of stale after a while because the story is very cookie cutter. The actual plot of this movie felt like it was written by 14-year-olds, which is fine, especially for an action movie. I mean, no one's saying that the plot of the John Wick movies is anything to write home about, but the action in those movies is top tier stuff. So, if you have good action in your action movie, all is forgiven. And this movie does have good action when it gets to it. The problem is that this movie just builds on the revenge storyline, and it builds that revenge, and it's hyping it up, and we're just laying on layer after layer of reasons why this guy wants revenge, and we're explaining everything about why this guy needs to get revenge on these corrupt cops and these gangsters, and they stole his girlfriend or fiance and all this stuff, and oh, the humanity. And by the time we finally get to the actual revenge action, the movie's almost over. I'm not kidding. The movie has like maybe half an hour left. And the action in that part, particularly a fight scene between Alan Ritchson and Pablo Schreiber, I believe you say his name. I don't think it's Schreider. I think it's Schreiber. He played Master Chief in that awful Halo show. He's a really good action guy, though. There's a fight between them in an elevator, and it's really, really good. And then there's a car chase that's pretty good, and that's it. Now, if the movie was mostly action, I would be a lot more positive about this movie. But it's not mostly action. It's mostly build up to that action. And at first it's interesting because there's little to no dialogue. So that's kind of, unique. But that will only last so long. I remember there's one part in the movie, there's a funeral for a character. I'm not going to reveal who, but there is a funeral at some point in this movie. And I'm like, okay, we saw this person die. We don't need to do a slow motion funeral. We get it. Everyone's sad. But we do it felt like 10 minutes. I don't think it was actually 10 minutes, but it was like this 10-minute funeral scene that added nothing. It added nothing. So I'm like, we don't need this part of the movie. And it's just prolonging us getting to the part that is admittedly really cool, the action. And if they just added more action scenes into this movie, it would have been a lot more entertaining, and I would have been a lot more positive about it. That being said, I don't think I can recommend this movie beyond you wanting a unique experience. If you want something, a type of movie that you don't see very often, a movie with very little dialogue, this might scratch that itch. It's got some good action in the back half of it. But if that doesn't sound super interesting to you, I would say when it's on streaming, if it's on streaming on a streaming service for something that you already pay for, so you're not paying anything extra, you can put it on, maybe give it a watch then, or if you start getting bored, just fast forward to the end and watch the action. It's worth watching that, and then you can turn it off. Yeah, so not a necessarily recommendation for me beyond certain things. I wish the movie was better. It could have been better, but I think it takes itself a little too seriously. I think it needed to embrace the ridiculous action part of its narrative. Yeah, so those are my thoughts on Motor City.